And then I knew that I had to give Pepe personality. That wasn't necessarily me, because that's not what I wanted. I wanted something like his own character, almost like an alter ego. So that's how the brand got created. Exactly. That's exactly how it was. And then we had to create an image for Pepe, and he had to be a snob that people could trust. He had to be arrogant, and he had to be almost like someone that you're not going to question about food. So that he's a connoisseur, and that used to be the tagline right at the beginning to get this off the ground.
I'm Matt Cooper, and this is Bite Sides. Okay, welcome to the latest edition of the Ausfine Bite Sides podcast. Really excited about today's guest, should I say. I don't know all the backstory of his and his amazing company. So like a lot of people watching and listening today, I'm a really interested party here on learning the backstory. Our guest today is Pepe Saya, who has an amazing story about butter. So without further ado, Pepe, welcome to the Bite Sides podcast.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
And before we go too much further, I've just learned that you actually did fly down specifically for this podcast, which I think is a first. So from me, very much appreciated that you would do that and support us. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here. Always a good excuse. Any excuse is a good excuse to come to Melbourne.
Fantastic.
We love it down here.
Excellent. Well, Pepe, we normally start these podcasts at the beginning with the origin story. And I think in this instance, it's really, really apt because, as I said, I'm really interested in this story. So could you take us back to, I think it was 2008, 2009 when this all began, or maybe even before that?
Yeah, 17 years ago. It feels like quite surreal when you look back because, as you could imagine, you grow so much as a person in that many years within a business that how you started no longer looks like where you're at, you know what I mean? So it's always good to reflect on these things. It's good to ground yourself with the memories. So I think it was more along the lines of we stumbled across cultured butter. That's the best way to describe it. So it's not like we had this vision of we wanted to take cultured butter and bring it to Australia. It wasn't like that. So we had a dessert company and we were making grab-and-go desserts for Thomas Darks and Harris Farm and a lot of delis all over Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide. We were shipping everywhere. It was a small company, but it was like grab-and-go desserts. We didn't have that yet in Australia. Our sort of stores were sort of selling us grab-and-go as flavoured yogurt. That was the big thing back in 2008, 2009. Sure. And then we came up with this, I don't know how we came up with it. It was just like, we've got to bring a dessert that you just go into Harris Farm and you grab a dessert that's in the fridge, not frozen, put it, and you can eat it straight after your meal. So the idea was bring a tiramisu, a panna cotta, bavarois, a chocolate mousse. I think there was a chocolate mousse on the shelf already. I don't want to take that away from them, but there's other things, like the panna cotta and all like cream-rich desserts, milk and cream. So when we started doing that, it was going really well, and then we got to about we were shutting down. It was either for Easter or Christmas, and we needed to get rid of about 200 litres of cream, which is nothing in the scheme of things, but for us at the time, was a lot of cream, right? It mattered, and we're going, what are we going to do with all this cream? We'd over-ordered for the big period. We didn't use it all. So we were calling around to our mates in the industry. No one wanted it, so we just decided, how hard can it be? Let's churn it into butter. And that was the start of Pepe Saya. That was the start of the journey.
That is a great story.
Which is sort of a bit weird because then we made the cream. We churned the cream into butter, and the butter wasn't great, right? So the idea was then I got stuck. It was, even though we took it home, we were on holidays and we're eating it with bread and it wasn't good. And like, how do they make good tasting butter? And it got you get stuck on an idea. And getting stuck on that idea and wondering how they make good tasting butter and starting a bit of research, Google wasn't much help at the time. Like it's not where it is now. Now we had ChatGPT and all this sort of stuff, so it's quite easy. But back then it was more like books and asking people and cheesemakers. And then I thought I should go and talk to a few chefs and see what they think of which butter's good, which butter's bad. And I remember talking to a chef. We aimed at like 3-hatted, 2-hatted restaurants. And I was talking to a chef in Sydney in a 3-hatted restaurant. He was the executive chef there. And I said to him, I was asking him about butter and he said something that was the moment, the moment that we knew we have a business. And it went along this line. I said to him, what do you use butter and what butter do you use? And he said, we use French butter. I was like, okay. We're in Australia, like we've got massive amount of dairy here. Like we export 90% of the dairy we make.
Back then we did.
Yeah. Now we probably use more.
Yeah.
And but like back then it was most of it was exported.
It was a lot, yeah.
A lot. And he said to me, no, we actually have to book in our butter a year in advance through the distributor so they can account for our allocation. And if we miss that, we don't get any butter. And I said, well, why don't you use Australian butter? Like that seemed like a no-brainer, right? Like, because I'm obviously not in that industry to understand all that. And he said to me, well, Australian butter tastes like salt and water. And when a customer comes here at a 3-hatted restaurant and they're spending $200 a head at the time, it's very different today, I guess, they want an experience. So we've got to give them the best in class, the best experience, that hot bread with the beautiful tasting butter. And really, like that's the first impression they get in a restaurant. And that's when we knew there's something there. We need to bring like a beautiful tasting butter to the table. It wasn't about a dream about bringing cultured butter to the table. It was about a beautiful tasting butter. So through all our research and a lot of help from, Australian industry, like, players like Max from Paisanella Cheese, who taught us a lot about culturing. CheeseLink, if you know them, the Willman. It was Carol Willman who helped me culture our first batch of creme fraiche to make the cultured butter. So, and that's why Pepe Saya is called Australian cultured butter. And it's not European style cultured butter because I didn't learn any of that in Europe. I learnt it right here at home.
Amazing.
So that was the...
Before you go on, would you mind, and you were likely going to get there anyway, but just at this point, the difference between regular butter and cultured butter?
So regular butter, you're milking your cows, you're taking that cream quite fresh before it changes in acidity, and you're crystallizing the fat and then you're churning. That's regular butter. And it's churned and then it's frozen straight away. And they're frozen into 25 kilo blocks or 20 kilo blocks. And then they pull them out and rework them to the shape they want, whether it's for supermarkets or whatever it is. With cultured butter, what we do is we get the same cream, the fresh cream from the farms, and we age it slightly because you want the acidity of the cream before you start to be a little bit higher, lower, down at 5 point something, not at 6.5 or 7. And then we inoculate it with a lactobacillus culture. So we actually, and then as we let it ferment, you get creme fraiche. So it's the same way you make yogurt out of milk, but we're making creme fraiche out of cream. It's no different. And then you age that creme fraiche for as long as you can. So,
that's the secret sauce?
Well, there's been some batches that we've made where, we wait till the mold grows, scrape that off and then churn that, right? Which is where the flavour lives there, right?
That's true. Throwing back to European stuff.
I mean, that's like 4-week aging.
Oh, wow.
But now we've had to cut the aging time down because as you age more on before you churn, as you get less of a date on the butter from when it's made.
Okay,
So you'll only end up with a 2-week shelf life rather than a 3 months. And then it's sent out, shipped out. So it's all fresh. It doesn't get frozen. So it's pretty amazing stuff.
It is. So you've gone from those early experimental days and fast forward. I don't want to go too far to recent history, but your famous round medallion cultured butter and the amazing branding that goes around with it. But how did you land on that as going to be your signature product?
I think it's a bit like water finds its own level. So it's sort of, that's how we've always handled the complex, questions in our business, is that the market will show you where you're going to land based on your price point, based on the product you're going to make, right? So we started off working with Qantas to make a little cut medallion with a little paper tab on it. And that was in first class. And then they were sort of like, well, do you have something with foil? We could wrap it for business. So we started making rounds wrapped by hand.
This is in the very early days.
Early days. Right. Like we were still in like maybe by 2011. And then we were wrapping those by hand. But before we were doing that, that's how we came up with the medallion round with a sticker on it, because we were doing the cut butters with a tab on them.
Yep.
A paper tab.
Yeah, yep.
Cut, ready, and they'd come in a cake box and 50 in a box. Then it moved to medallion because the customer wanted that. And then it went out into the market. And then we had to find a machine to make the little round ones, because at one stage we had 18 people standing in a long, conveyor belt style, just people pressing them by hand.
Punching out medallions.
So our labour cost was sitting at about 43% on that. So we were losing money for a long time on that particular product. But we tended to go with the market. But what you have to do with everything, you have to allow time for an idea and the market to come to you. And we had to learn that the hard way. There was a time there in early 2011, I was lying on the couch in tears thinking we're going to have to shut this down because I've got a cool room full of butter, but no one to sell it to.
Yeah.
Because you're competing against things that you don't even understand, like European butter coming in.
Yep.
And you sort of, back then I was asking myself, how the hell do they even make it at this price? Like how do they make it there, bring it here, distribute it for this price? Like it was crazy, So your price is very expensive when you're making an artisan product. Your biggest issue is finding the right market and actually waiting for the market to develop. So like now, if you saw a cultured butter in the market, you sort of understand what that is after Pepe Saya hammering you for 17 years.
Educating you as to what it was.
Yeah. And then, so whoever comes into the market now is going to have an easier run in the market. But back then we had people would say, okay, I know what butter is, but what's cultured butter? Like nearly every single person. And then you'd get the odd people and go, this is like that butter they sell in Normandy and Brittany and when I was in France and all that. So yeah, it's a bit like that. So
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Just that journey in business, and you go into a new market or a new product category thinking it's going to be
100%
a certain way, and then you arrive there and nope.
No.
And then you have
exactly.
almost exactly how as you described it, that depth of despair as you realise that you've misread it or it's not what you thought it was.
Exactly.
But lo and behold, if you look to your left, another door is open with a new opportunity or feedback from the market on where you need to be and where you need to pivot to.
And I think it's time. It's time in the market. So, I mean, one message to anyone that's already in the market and doing new things or coming into the market is you've got to allow time. You've got to just run and keep running with it till you break it.
Really, really true. We're experiencing it right now. It's, we've just opened up the US office, and I know we'll get to your expansion in the US in due course, but it's never linear the way it evolves, and time does kind of go a long way to getting where you want to get to, but it takes a lot longer than what you think it's going to.
Absolutely.
So we're now at the medallion phase.
Yep.
You've got the engagement with Qantas, and then you've obviously spent a lot of time on your branding.
Yeah.
And your marketing. So how did you come up with the name, the famous logo, and that distinct packaging? How did that all come about?
Well, the name Pepe's my nickname from when I was a kid, because my actual name is Pepe Issa, Issa. And so Pepe's what my nickname was, and Saya is I know it sounds all a bit strange, but it's how it is. Strange things are interesting. Saya is an island escape. So I used to always say Pepe is in Saya. And then I thought, what a great, cool brand name if you drop the is in and you got Pepe Saya. So Pepe's in an island, So that was how the syllables, two syllables, it sort of worked.
Yeah, it's got a great ring to it.
Great ring, and we could go somewhere with it. And then I knew that I had to give Pepe personality. That wasn't necessarily me, because that's not what I wanted. I wanted something like his own character. Almost like an alter ego. So that's how the brand got created. Exactly. That's exactly how it was. And then we had to create an image for Pepe, and he had to be a snob that people could trust. He had to be arrogant, and he had to be almost like someone that you're not going to question about food. So that he's a connoisseur, and that used to be the tagline right at the beginning to get this off the ground. And we went down to Enmore TAFE, which is in Sydney, inner city TAFE, who specialise in art. And we spoke to one of the students there, Albert Nguyen. He used to draw excellent, like hand drawings and stuff. He wanted to work. His dream was to work for Holden Cars and design cars, which he's doing.
Oh, fantastic.
Which he made it.
Good on him.
He actually drew 5 pictures, 5 drawings.
5 different Pepes.
Of what I described to him. And there was just one of them that he nailed. And it's actually our main brochure has the 5 images he drew, with the middle image as the Pepe, and we've actually used that as our part of our marketing because it's such a big part of our story. So that's how the image was created. And then we went to a test phase where we had it up, and we were right next to like a prop store for restaurants. So if you were doing for photographers, so if you're doing food photography, you'd go in there and buy all your props.
All
and
right.
We had a lot of people then walk into us and buy some butter and this and that, all the things we were making in St. Peter's. And I used to ask everyone, point to it, what do you think of the logo? And everyone was like, I wouldn't put that on food. It's not the right thing because, it's not the sort of done thing. So the first butters that came out, we put the Pepe on the back and the image of the cows on the front, until someone said to me, why wouldn't you make it iconic and put Pepe on the front? And you know what? I thought I'd,
be bold
and do that. So that's how we ended up with Pepe as the main thing. And
great story. I love it. Just getting back to that development of Pepe. He's a snob. He's someone you don't question about food quality. Did you bounce that off other people, or did that just come from you and you just knew that was who he was?
That came from me as what I wanted to do, but bouncing it off people was the wrong thing. And that's where everyone was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I mean, my wife Melissa was all for it and she loved it. She saw the vision of it.
Yeah.
But most people didn't see that. They didn't understand how that could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, bold. Even the way you've described it is such a bold move, because you wouldn't necessarily associate someone being snobbish as being a lovable, likable character you're going to associate
exactly
with a brand. So it's.
But I just want to tell you, so even at the time, if you think about some of the most prominent butters in the market, they're named after packing companies. They're not even brands.
Yep, true.
Like you think about it, not that I want to mention them, but
no, we won't mention
those
other guys.
But,
the silver wrapper and
coming out of Europe, then they're named after a packing company.
Yeah.
So you sort of, that's the biggest selling butter in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's from Europe.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting Danish farmers. Anti-competitive. I'll be called anti-competitive.
Not at all. The forum is yours. The floor is yours to say whatever political statement you'd like. No, yeah, amazing. And to think, yeah, that's just something that you resonated with, and you knew that to be true if this is the path you wanted to go down.
But getting the market was the hardest thing. I think when we started in 2009, we released the first butter in 2010 at a farmer's market in Carriageworks. That's the first place we sold the butter. And then we had some awesome chefs like Jared Ingersoll and Alex Herbert, which used to champion local. And they're the people the early adopters that took our brand and took it out, and we were, leveraging off them almost, right? And they were amazing to like what they did. And Michael Clausen from Brasserie Bread, like he put it in first, and they're the guys that really got us a bit of traction in the market. But you are competing. I mean, the hard thing is to sort of compete in a market that's got a lot of low price product in it. And to come in at a high price. And then I think we did, like in 2010, we rode that wave of local, because that's when that local thing was coming in or creeping into the industry. Not to say we didn't have it. I mean, Melbourne was always very much more local than New South Wales, South Australia, Barossa. Think of those guys, like what Maggie Beer's done. They've always been very local, but Sydney's wasn't so much like that. So it took a while to break in.
Yeah, and I think there is an ebb and flow to that, where people will, where it will be a focus, and other times where it is about price for a big part of the community, and I think we're in it now. And
PR.
Yeah, and yes,
and a lot of PR
and a lot of marketing spend, and keeping
massive,
the brand and keeping the branding fresh and in people's faces as well. 100%. You can't rest on your laurels. But it's interesting, talking to a bunch of people on the pod previously, particularly in dairy, because we've got a situation where we need a high milk price for farmers to stay in the industry, or else there's easier ways to make money than getting up at 3 a.m. to milk cows 300 days out of the year. So the milk price has to stay, relatively strong to keep the industry alive. Meanwhile, you've got cheaper imports coming in. You've got retailers who are constantly trying to drive that pricing down. So that dynamic of having to compete whilst your biggest ingredient is at a very high price, it's a challenge, because also consumers are, have tough choices as well. Yep. You've got, yes, I'd love to buy Australian and support local farmers and branded dairy products, but meanwhile, you've also got, you've got a lot of competition at the register, and people have still got to be able to feed their family. So it's tough. And I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but I think it reiterates your the path you've taken, where branding and marketing really matters,
and quality. So backing it up with a good quality product and something unique in the market is really important, because you've got to have the minerals to go, or the quality really to go with the price. Otherwise, you don't get return spend.
No,
so that's the problem.
That's right. And to be able to hand on heart say, well, we're not discounting it because the quality justifies the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Super interesting. So fast forwarding to today, so we kind of got to 2011, 2012, and we'll jump forward a little bit to more recent times. Before we get to the international expansion, your Australian business, where are you now? You've expanded beyond your original digs, I assume.
Oh yeah. Now we're in about 1,200 square meters in Caringbah in Sutherland Shire, which is a peninsula just 20 minutes from the south of the airport, Sydney Airport. It's a great location. It's still on a main highways can get to us, so that's great. In there, we do our cultured butter. So we have a two-part business to keep things interesting. One is our absolute passion, which is our cultured butter, still made the same way we made it from day one.
Still the original recipe.
Still the original. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, perfect.
Same salt. We use Olsen salt from Eyre Peninsula. It's beautiful. we pack it all by hand except our little rounds. The only machine we have for packing is the little rounds. All the retail ones, they're all packed by hand, still like they used to be. So it's all the same. And then the second part of our business, which keeps our lights on, is our rework lines. So which the industry will understand what that is, where we, buy butter in, we blend butter to then pack for other people, because you've got to keep the lights on. Let's face it, passion can go a long way, but it doesn't pay the bills.
No. As you say, you've got to keep the lights on, and sometimes passion doesn't do that.
No. So then we also, another part of our business is our online store, which is a huge part of our business, where you can buy our butter, but what we recognised in 2014 when we set it up is that people aren't coming to our website to buy $100 worth of butter to get the minimum spend to get a free delivery. You're going to have to offer a whole bunch of stuff. So it's almost set up like a deli.
Okay.
So you've got a lot of different items to fill up your basket. And in turn, that turned into a beautiful thing for corporates because they can buy hampers. And that served us really well in the pandemic. Like we were doing over 1,500 orders a week out of there.
And that's working with other artisanal kind of providers.
Get them all together, bring it in, buy it as if we're a store and a normal store, and then just ship it. People buy online and do that. So that's another part of our business. And then the newest chapter of our business starts in Grafton, New South Wales, coming up in July. We're hoping to set up our own milk facility where we're bottling milk in glass and also in 2 litre and bladders for the cafes.
Fantastic.
Glass for retail.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming up. So hopefully we'll be open by July. So we're just going through the steps now. And
Fantastic.
that all came out of us wanting to put out a milk in Pepe Saya brand and having the ideology, and this is really important for the industry to really think about, is that there's a lot of, we looked at it and we go, we could set up our own factory here, or we could look at what existing facilities are underutilized and utilize them. So with that in mind, we actually found a factory in Grafton on a farm, fully set up, not being used.
It is amazing.
Pasteurized, everything, the lot.
That is amazing, and it's a great point you make, because going back, 2001, Australia's milk peaked at just under 12 billion litres of milk. We're now at just over 8. But I swear there'd still be stainless steel within Australia that would process 13, 14 billion litres of milk. And so to your point, there's so much underutilised stainless steel around, and we continue to build more around the place.
And if you're an independent farmer right now in Australia, and this is what I hear on the ground, and I'll share it with you and your listeners, is that nearly every independent farmer I've spoken to that supplies into the big guys is going, how else can I do my own little thing on the side? Every single one of them. How can I build a brand? How can I do my own thing? How can I sell it at the markets? And that rightfully so, because they've been, punished for so long with the price of milk. But now it's better. I must admit, I've seen the price of milk. It's pretty good now.
I think farmers on the whole are doing quite well at the moment.
But the fear of the independent farmers is that, well, what guarantee do I have, or what do I have to fall back on, my own brand or something? So you're hearing that a lot out on the ground.
Yeah, no doubt. With your milk, just really quickly, so it's in the old style glass bottle.
Absolutely, unhomogenized.
So we've got the fat.
Yeah,
sitting
fat on top,
wow.
Just straight out. Hoping that, it obviously with milk, it fluctuates the fat content, but you're always going to be over 4% if you don't skim it. So we're hoping that'll be over 4%. And then we'll just have to, everyone else before us, we're not reinventing boiling water here. I mean, it is what it is, but you just have to explain to people to shake it well before they pour it into their tea. Otherwise, oh, what's wrong with my tea? Because most city folk won't understand what that is.
Us city folk won't understand that. You're absolutely right. But that's okay. It's all part of the theatre, right?
Yeah,
you kind of
shake well. Why do I have to shake my milk?
I don't shake milk. No, that's great.
And then we'll go on to yogurt, I think, after that. So there's a lot going on in Australia.
Yeah, very entrepreneurial. That's fantastic. And still with your roots back in that artisanal experience of fantastic food. That's awesome. It doesn't just stop in Australia, though.
No.
You're a busy man, and now your international expansion. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we always knew when we set up Pepe Saya from day one. We knew this not day one, but around 2010, 2011, when you're sizing up the market and you're seeing where you can go. And we knew that, okay, well, in Australia, we're going to be able to sell 10,000, say 10 tonne of cultured butter, artisan cultured butter at $15 a kilo, right? But once we get up to 11 tonne, that 11th tonne is going to be sold at $10 a kilo. And
diminishing returns.
Exactly. Yeah. So we knew that there's going to be a certain point where you're going to peak and then it's going to be downhill. So what you try to do is you go, okay, well, where's the low-hanging fruit here? And you go, Asia. We all just jump. What do we say? Singapore, Hong Kong, easy entry into the market. It's the same laws as here. Send it up there. Most people send up samples and, it's under 5 kilos for samples or whatever it is. I think it's 20 kilos. Can't remember now. But, so you're testing these markets out with samples and you're doing this, that, and the other. So by 2015, we'd already developed a very strong sense of what we wanted to do with the market in Asia, into the Maldives, all that. So we started planning to get our export license. So the export license, we applied for it we got it in 2018 when we moved into Caringbah, our current site. And then we started exporting into those markets, a bit of Korea, a bit of, Maldives, Fiji, all that. And we were doing quite a lot into these markets and we knew, okay, well, this is great. And then the pandemic hit. And it sort of all it flatlined, right? Like even a lot of our exports sort of flatlined a little bit. We're still doing it, a little bit of it. It was at one stage more than what we were doing here.
Right.
But one of the things that was happening is we had, a container to Hong Kong and a couple of pallets here to Singapore, and you're going all over the place and trying to get a bit into Dubai and this, that, and the other. And then we thought, well, this is not really great because it wasn't consistent enough. You didn't have presence on the ground. So we knew whatever market we chose eventually, we're going to have to go, yep, treat it the same way we treat here, Australia, and nothing else matters. Just focus on that. So we had an email from a place in Texas called Central Markets. And they've got 11 stores in Texas, really high-end stores like Harris Farm or Leo's stores here in Melbourne. And they wanted to have our butter in, and the freight was really good during the pandemic, as anyone exporting would know, that, the subsidized freight. So we were sending it up there and the guys were selling so much of our butter at quite a high price. I think it was priced at about $10.50 US for a 200 gram or 7 ounce, however you want to look at it. So we were like, wow, there's something in this. And then pandemic ended. We were doing it for a while. Pandemic ended and the price of freight went up. But the price of freight went up so high in that first 6 to 9 months that the freight component of the butter was more than the butter itself. So they were still keen on having us in. So they did a deal with us. They said, we'll pay for half the freight, you pay for half the freight, and we'll keep it going because it's selling really well. And at that time, we realized that, look, we really should explore America because it's the one country we've never really looked at other than this one customer. And my wife, Melissa, and Georgia, our comms manager, went up and did fancy food. They took out a stall, 10 by 10, no, I think it was 20 by 10 foot stall at the New York Fancy Food, and they decked it out like we always do, as if we're doing it here in Australia, and they put a little A4 sign on, like chalkboard sign, that said, looking for a dairy partner and dairy distributor and a distributor. And they came back. They came back with a few names. So Georgia came back and handed me a card, and she goes, Euro USA, that's it. They're the people you want to work with. And I'm looking at her going, well, who else did you find? She goes, a lot, but you don't want to talk to them. These are the people. That's Georgia. Where Mel came back with a list of a lot of butter companies that could make it for us, like contract manufacturing style. And she had one name. She said, but you want to speak to Brother Daniel. And I'm like, okay. She goes, they're Amish, but they're great. And as soon as she said Amish, I said, oh, come on, buddy. We're not doing that. This doesn't sound right. Like, imagine the headaches with those guys with, like I'm Catholic, but, it's another level, right?
It is another level.
Well, for us it is. So, and she goes, no. Wait till you talk to him. Just give him a call. And so what I did, I called every single other company that she gave me to sort of see. And it was like some good companies in there that I had a lot of respect for and I've known for a long time. Knew of them. But everyone was like, yeah, we can do a stick. And, it's sort of like, can't do round, can't do this, can't do that, can't culture it that way. So then eventually Melissa, my wife, she kept hassling me to call this Brother Daniel character. So eventually I got on the phone with him. And after being on the phone with him for like 4 hours, we sort of had a deal. So it was sort of like it was done there and then that, okay. Right. So I said, well, first thing you have to come out here and then I went over there and met them and it was great. So we did a very interesting deal with them where they put up the premises and the labor. We put in the equipment and the know-how and the management. So we manage it and we take it to market. So it was a good joint venture, sort of what we wanted, because it kept us in control of the product and the quality and the training and how we want them to do it. So yeah, that's how the America thing came up. And then there was more tears on the couch because now 2 years in, the first year was extremely difficult in America because what we didn't know about America is that where you could be onboarded with a distributor in Australia within 3 weeks maximum. Like if the distributor wants your product, you've got it. They'll get you in on the ledger within 3 weeks, like maximum, right? We've had, we'll come pick up tomorrow sort of thing here. In America, it's more like 6 to 9 months to onboard a distributor from when you meet them and they go, yeah, we're bringing it on, and you shake hands on price. Like, I'm like, wow, prices don't change there much. You probably noticed that yourself. So, yeah, that was very interesting because it took a long time to get momentum. But then, just the other day in San Diego in January, we were like, so many people were like, yeah, we love this butter. Let's get it on board. So the momentum's there. So.
It's an amazing place, and I think that you've seen the same thing as us. And you talk about that diminishing returns. Yeah, the scale is just so incredibly different and off the charts compared to here that it takes a long time to get to the point of diminishing returns.
My God. You never run. It's all. I came back last time and I said to Mel, like, it feels like you're never going to run out of customers. Yep. Like every state you go into.
It's like a mini country.
Exactly. But the reason we did it the way we did it is because we had this philosophy going into it where we knew exactly what we wanted. We have it still up on our board today. It's where there's cows, export the brand. Where there's no cows, export the butter. So it's like, there was very clear defined lines like, okay, Singapore, they're a net importer of butter. Dubai, they're a net importer of butter. Hong Kong, the same. So they're low-hanging fruit. It's a natural market for us as being a food bowl servicing Asia. But in America, it doesn't make sense to export from here to America. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Unless there's no supply there. Like there's all sorts of reasons, right? But the way we looked at it with artisan eyes is that there's cows there. Like we just got to find the right people.
Just got to find the right and the right farming type as well.
That's
Obviously
right.
Pasture fed and stuff. It's just very quickly. We're actually running out of time, so we'll wrap it up very shortly. But just interesting that you've landed on a partnership with the Amish community. We had a similar situation going back about 6 months ago in Pennsylvania as well, and where we were partnering with an Amish community to buy organic cheese.
Yeah.
To supply onto the West Coast, so I can definitely share share certain parts of your journey and just working with those guys. They're wonderful people.
Yeah, they're wonderful people.
But when you're still trying to find a fax machine to send them a fax for them to find out, or you need to make a phone call and you have to wait for your partner to come back from the barn, and it's a unique experience and quite fun actually. You kind of just got to take the speed off things a little bit.
They slow it right down.
Yeah, and it's nice.
So, yeah, it is nice. Our lead times are a little bit longer than usual, but we work with them, and there's certain holidays that we have to that don't exist except in their community, which we and there's an abundant amount of labour, but only available. It's very hard to do rosters, let me tell you that, but we do it.
I'm sure
it's
it
good.
is. I'm sure
it's
it is.
good.
Mate, we actually are coming to the end. Have almost run out of time. That my final question would be: obviously, you've got a lot on your plate already with the bottling plant and the US expansion. Do you have any visions beyond that, or is you've got enough on your plate at the moment to?
Yeah, look, my wife and I are extremely ambitious people. We're not necessarily driven by money. We're driven by how far we can take Pepe Saya. That's our real drive here. And we've got the same opportunity we've got in the US, in the UK. And we were talking about this the other day, and we looked at each other and gone, well, maybe one of our kids will have to do this because, I don't know if we're going to run out of steam on that one, because it takes real effort. Like you guys have done the US, and you know how much you've had to pour into that. So to do that again in my lifetime, who knows, maybe. But, the opportunities, it's endless opportunity. Yeah. So we just got to find the time.
It's a wonderful story, and just that you still got that enthusiasm after nearly 20 years of doing this. It's fantastic and so nice to hear, because often in the dairy industry the story and the rhetoric is not as positive as that. So to have that success story is fantastic. And thank you very much for coming in today and flying down once again. Very much appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Pepe.
Thank you.
Thank you.